everyone for bearing with us today. I'm Lauren Van Hemert, and this is RDU on Stage, and I'm hanging out with Orlando Parker Jr. this afternoon, evening UK time. It's dark behind you.
It's nighttime. It's dark here.
It's dark, but I'm so glad to hang out with you because I was telling you before we went on air, your voice is so soulful and smooth and rich. And it just made me so happy to hear you sing. So now I'll be downloading everything you put out.
Well, thank the Lord. There's somebody.
Well, no. And if you are listening to this and you haven't heard the new release, the new video came out last week. So I'm going to refer everybody to that.
Thank you. Love is a losing game.
It's Amy Winehouse, right? It's jazz.
Amy Winehouse wrote it. Oh. This is my second time covering Amy. That's how much I love her.
And she was a gift, right? She's just gone way too
gifted. And unfortunately, people who are gifted immensely also come with a lot of complications that I feel like most people don't understand. And so they often feel very alone and isolated, as she did. And I think that sometimes people deal with those issues in unhealthy ways, just trying to escape and feel normal and self-medicate, and unfortunately she wasn't with us very long, but the time that she was here, she gave us some genius work. I mean, she really had a gift. And people actually study her, they use her writings to teach college curriculum on writing. Because she had such a way, it was poetic the way she wrote Love is a Losing Game. There is an art to writing songs, because I'm a songwriter as well. I write my own material too, but you have to learn how to write. There's a flow to it. And she nailed it. She mastered it. And it resonates with me. Most of her work, she wrote the entire Back to Black album. She wrote the whole album. Like, you don't see that anymore. Like, people don't write their entire albums. You're lucky if they write like 2 of the 18 songs on their album. And she wrote the whole thing. And that album was a masterpiece and won the Grammys and the Brit Awards and all that stuff. So I have an immense amount of respect for Amy.
So I would say she's probably an influence on you. Obviously, you covered that song. It's almost honestly like the song was written for you, the way you covered it.
Yes.
So, and I'm a theater critic, so I don't say these things lightly, I promise you. But who are your other musical influences? Who else?
Oh my God! So my number one musical influence is Whitney Houston. Everyone who knows me knows that. She's been my influence since day one. I love her voice because, I come from church. And so she has that gospel upbringing and you hear it. But she also has a very classical tone and technique to her voice in her early work. She sang the notes straight on and she held those notes, and her vibrato was very kind of operatic. And just a very full classical sounding voice, very clean. The way she did the national anthem. Oh. She doesn't do a lot of running and all that. Yes, right? And even I Will Always Love You. Like, you would think that was, like, she wrote that song, the way she sang it, but it's Dolly Parton who wrote it. So she's number one. And when my mother couldn't afford to send me for voice lessons and I knew I wanted to do theater, I listened to Whitney Houston over and over and over again. And I would sing along to her 80s tracks. And that's how I developed my voice and my technique, is by listening to her. And in my younger years, I used to sing really big, and it was always to hold notes and impress people with what I could do. And I learned later that it's more about the storytelling than it is impressing people vocally. And so I learned to pull back on all the acrobatics. I saved that for like when I did Sister Act at the Raleigh Little Theater. It was an opportunity for me to show off what I could do vocally, my range and holding notes and hitting, you know, the different notes. But in my own recordings, that's not what the focus is. The focus is always making music that I can listen to in 20 years. And like with Love is a Losing Game, it's a recording that I can listen to when I'm 80 and I'll still be proud of it. It'll still be relevant. The sound will not have, it wouldn't have aged. It sounds like the engineer said I sounded like Nat King Cole to him singing that song, which was the biggest compliment of my life because I grew up listening and studying Nat King Cole as well. So
that type of tone in your voice, yes, I want to say old school, you know, like people don't sing like Nat King Cole anymore. And
they
that's what I
don't.
hear when I hear you sing, is that rich, I don't even want to say 50s tone, but that rich, deep tone that just, I think the problem with so many artists now is they are audio tuned, so you're not actually hearing them sing. When I hear
Exactly.
you sing, I don't feel like there's any tuning about it, that is all 100% you, and that's what I loved about listening to you today.
Thank you. You don't know what it means to me to have someone recognize that, because I'm one of these people who likes to sit around and have deep conversations about music and about recordings, and people are just not interested in that anymore. I've been working with some younger producers doing some dance records, which is completely different from what I normally do. I like a live sound. So you have to understand the goal for my music is to always sound live and to always, when you come to my show, I don't want people to say, oh, he sounds a lot different than the record. No, I want you to say I sound better than the record when you hear me live, or at least I sound like the record. And so there's no auto tuning on my records. And there was also not a large amount of time spent in the recording studio. It's like we rehearse it on our own. And then when we get to the studio, you know, I give it 3 takes and that's it. So what you hear on Love is a Losing Game is 1 take. And there are literally 2 words in the song that I didn't like something I did vocally on those 2 words. And so I asked the engineer to punch in a previous take on those 2 words just so I was okay with it. But everything else, it's 98% 1 take. And so that's the feeling that I like. My objective when I wake up in the morning is to give the best that I have that day. And whatever I had that day is what you got. And I may wake up the next day and think, oh my God, I could have did so much better. But that's that day, that's the best that I had. And so I have to accept that and sort of move on. And so that's how I work as an artist. I give you the best that I have in that moment. And then I sort of release it and give it away to the people to do what they will with it. And the good thing about being able to continue performing and continue recording is people get to experience my growth with me. Love is a Losing Game for me is my favorite recording of my own. It's just, it's who I am as an artist and who I am as a vocalist. So.
Well, it's beautiful. I will share the link so people can watch the video because it really is beautiful. I love, I went to London a few years ago and I couldn't convince my family to go to see the graffiti in Shoreditch. So I feel like you gave me a tour.
Yes, that was the idea. Oh my God. That's all I kept saying to the videographer the whole time. I was like, I don't want this video to be about me. I want people who have never been here and who may never have an opportunity to come here to feel like they have really been able to experience Shoreditch authentically. And I think that you got that in the video. It's not just a bunch of Orlando Parker Jr. You get to see the murals and this, you know, and we're in a pandemic, so it's not like it would normally be. It would normally be very congested there. So there weren't a lot of people, but we tried to make the best of it, considering. You know.
Good for filming though.
Yeah, exactly. Great for filming.
I know you grew up in Detroit. Um, Talk to me about growing up there and singing in the church and how the church informed who you become as a singer and recording artist.
Oh my God. Growing up in church, I think is the most important aspect of who I am as a vocalist, and as an artist. Um, if you can sing gospel music, you can sing anything. Gospel music really is the foundation of all music, of rock and roll, of everything. And everything's in 4 counts in gospel as far as the timing goes. So for me, not reading music thoroughly, I can read a little bit. Obviously, doing theater, you go in and they just give you a book of sheet music, so you have to kind of get through. And I can get through it enough, but I don't read thoroughly. My training is mostly by ear, and so the way when I'm in rehearsal with my band, the way that I direct them is literally by ear and by feeling, because I don't read thoroughly. And so the church gave me that. And also, coming from the Black church, people are hypercritical of singers. Like, you have to be able to really sing, or they'll tell you, you need to go sit down somewhere. So that was really important for me, because it's important to me to be a great singer. Whitney Houston is my favorite, and then Luther Vandross and Stevie Wonder also those are like my top 3. And so it was important to me to be a good singer. And so they gave me the training ground, coming up in church, to be able to get to that point. And it helped me get the confidence that I needed to go out on stage for strangers and give whatever I have to give.
So often, and I really want you to speak to the young men and women watching. I think so often when you emulate a singer, like you said, you listen to Whitney Houston, you're trying to teach yourself to sing through her music. I think what happens a lot of times, and I know this for me because I studied voice growing up, I want to sound like Julie Andrews. So
love her.
I learned to sing and sound like Julie Andrews. And one of my voice teachers, I remember her saying to me, "You don't want to be Julie Andrews, you want to be Lauren. So lose that." So
right.
How did you find your own voice? At what point in your journey, of your musical journey, do you define your own voice, your own sound? Yes, I'm inspired by Whitney, but I'm not copying her. I'm going to be me.
Right. Oh God, it was always a desire to eventually leave behind a legacy. That's very important to me. Everything that I do, I'm a person who I'm very ambitious, and I do things spontaneously, but most things that I do are very, I don't know if I should say calculated. It's just like, I'm not just, oh, today let's just do this song and make a video for it randomly. No, there's a lot that goes into why I'm doing this song and why I'm doing it at this time and why this particular song needs a video. I know that I'm building a legacy. When I look back over the past 5 years alone, I think that when I'm long gone, I will leave behind something that will be remembered and will be significant. And so, yeah, I love Whitney Houston, but I also recognize that I'm not a woman. I'm not a soprano. I will never sound like her. And nor did I want to sound like her. I wanted to sound like me. Why I studied her was I wanted to sound like the best version of me. And I realized that her technique was superlative. And so I needed to follow her technique and her way of singing in order to do it properly, in order to produce the big notes, and my voice is very robust. And in order to produce that kind of sound, there's a certain way you have to sing. And so that's why I studied her. But I always knew I wanted to sound like Orlando Parker Jr. And I always knew that I naturally had a very deep voice, and I needed to develop that and not try to sound like other people. What makes singers special is that immediately when you hear their voice, you can recognize, oh my God, that's Natalie Cole. Oh my God, that's Amy Winehouse. You know, within a few words. Oh my God, that's Whitney Houston, that's Stevie Wonder, that's Frank Sinatra. And I wanted to be one of those people where as soon as you heard my voice, you knew that was Orlando Parker Jr. And so that was always in the forefront of my thinking. And when I approach song, I approach it that way. Like, this has to be Orlando and not anyone else. And I love that I don't sound like anyone else. I have my own thing going on. And I really dig that about myself, if I may say so.
Well, and what I hear you saying is there's an intentionality between what you record, how you sing. And I think that separates the real professionals, the real artists from the bubblegum pop you're hearing on the radio all the time.
Exactly.
Because it all
They're here
sounds the
today,
same.
gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It all sounds the same.
it does.
So I'm kind of fascinated by this, and this is real reason why I wanted to talk to you.
Uh-oh.
Your last singing gig in Raleigh was in September, and then you made a decision to move to London. We are in a global pandemic.
Yep.
So back in December, London and all the surrounding areas was placed under Britain's highest level of restrictions because of this virus. So talk about moving and making that decision to move amidst a pandemic, and why London?
Oh God, yeah. So everybody, my close circle thought I was nuts. I think after they realized I was leaving, they kind of got on board and people just became supportive. But initially, people were like, "What the heck are you like? Why? You have a whole life here," especially in Raleigh, because I was in Raleigh for almost 13 years, and so I really built a life for myself there and a reputation as a performing artist there, a strong reputation. And to leave all of that behind, you know, people reasonably thought I was nuts. I always planned to move here. I started traveling to London back in 2015. I've come here every year, maybe twice a year since then. And I was going to move here in 2017 with my then partner, who directed my first music video here in London for a Stevie Wonder cover I did, The Master Blaster. And he also directed the music video for Stunt Queen, the original version of Stunt Queen, which I wrote. We did that in Paris and London back in 2017. And after that video, I was going to move here with my partner, and that didn't work out. And so I just kind of halted all plans to move here, and I was very disappointed in that that things didn't work out then. And I just started figuring out ways to make it work for myself and come here on my own. And I spent, a couple of years doing what I needed to do to make that happen. And then this COVID thing happened. And I was not willing to allow it to stop me from coming. I had already made the decision before COVID, and I felt like it was wise for me to come while things were sort of calm, if you will, this calm within the storm. It's a good time to come and settle, get myself together. I didn't know that COVID was going to, like no one else, I didn't know it was going to last this long. I thought there would be a vaccine by now, and people would be vaccinated. So, it's not worked out completely as I had hoped, but yeah, it's just one of those things, you only live once and you have to take risk and be adventurous. And I'm definitely a very adventurous person. And I'm definitely someone who is willing to take risk, especially for my career. My career had sort of reached a plateau in Raleigh. I performed everywhere you can perform there. I did theater. I performed at every dive and in concert venue that a local artist can perform at. I did the national anthem probably over 3 dozen times at like the Walk to Defeat ALS, the Walk to End Alzheimer's. I was very much a part of the 2016 Stand Against HB2, and so I went around North Carolina performing at all those events and raising awareness and funds for Equality NC, and just did everything you could do there. And I just knew it was time for me to sort of move on. Doesn't mean I'll never come back to Raleigh. It's my home now. But this is something that I needed to do at this time. And I'm happy I made the decision to do it. And we have Love Is a Losing Game filmed in Shoreditch now as a result of me coming here and more.
You talked about the music video in 2016. You filmed Master Blaster in London.
Yeah.
You just did this video. What was the difference between working and filming in London pre-COVID versus post-COVID?
Oh my gosh, completely different. So first of all, the city is completely different. If you've never been here, it's not the London that I fell in love with at all. It's a ghost town right now. I just ran to the market to grab some groceries for our video, and just on the walk there, I saw one person on the street. Like, this is normally one of the most congested areas in the entire world where I'm living right now. And it's kind of a ghost town for the most part. A lot of people that live in London are not from here. They're from Italy and Spain and different places, and they've left to go back home because they feel like if I'm going to be locked down, then I want to be near my family. And I can relate to that. So it's not the same. But as far as filming the video, it's different working with a team who you're not personal friends with. Like I said, my partner filmed that video, and so there's just a different dynamic. You can throw tantrums and stuff on set and get away with it when the partner is the person behind the camera. You can't get away with that stuff with strangers, nor did I have a desire to with cinematic showreels, who did my first UK actor showreel, by the way, which is why I hired them to do that video. The difference is I'm much calmer as a person than I was 5 years ago. Something just happens when you grow up and become more comfortable with who you are as a person and who you are as an artist. It was the easiest experience that I've had in entertainment thus far, filming that video. I showed up, I knew what I wanted. I was the director. I went and scoped out the scene a couple of days prior and I was looking at, I want to stand right here and I want to get a shot here. I want them to shoot me right here. And that's what we did. And it was just very, very easy. And yeah, I enjoy kind of growing as a person and growing as an artist and having my experiences in the recording studio. And if I'm on a film set, I got here last year in October, and in November I did my first UK film. I had a very small role in this film, and everything's just very calm and easy now. I did a film called The Believers in Raleigh back in like 2016, 2017, with the gentleman who started Theater in the Park. I forget his name. Ira
Goodwood.
Yeah, he was the star of that film and a producer on it. And I remember just being very anxious on set, even though I was just an extra. It's just a different ball game now, different vibe now. I'm very comfortable with all of it. And So it's just, I'm able to have fun and actually take in the experiences now. And I'm more interested in what's going on behind the camera than just being on camera at this point in my career. And so I was able to actually sit in on the editing of Love is a Losing Game. And so every frame that you see, like I chose those frames. I can't say that with any of the other videos. Usually I give my performance and the director or the videographer, they go in and they piece it together the way they want and they send it to me and I'm just like, okay, this is the video. This time was a little bit different. I got to say, no, I don't like that frame, or I really want to see more of Brick Lane, more of Shortage and less of me. I kept saying that there's too much me. I want to see more of the city. Like people have seen me enough, like they want to see London. And that's the thing that's going to get people to watch the video, is feeling like they have a free sort of tour guide into this borough, this famous borough. So yeah, just the calmer me this time around.
Yes, and when you look at artists like Bansky, you know, that's his turf. That's right there. That's his turf.
Exactly. I follow Bansky on Instagram. I love Bansky.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I feel like when you travel, when you go overseas, this is I feel like you get a different sense of being American. You get a different sense of where America fits into the world. We are not the end all be all like we'd all like to think we are. So
we are pretty amazing, though, I gotta say.
We are pretty amazing, but living in London, working with organizations like Global H2O, how does the rest of the world look at America?
So there was a point where I was going to start telling people I was from Canada. That's the reputation. Yeah, because if I'm at the market and people overhear me speaking, they stop me. Are you from America? And the first thing they say, what do you think about that Trump? And I'm just like, oh Lord. So there was a sense of an embarrassment for a little while there. I have to be honest. I'm a proud American. I always have been. That's why I sang the national anthem so often for our people, and that's why I sang it at a time when, we were taking the knee, and Colin Kaepernick, he came out with his movement, and here I am singing the national anthem everywhere. There was a little bit of a conflict there, but I felt like it was important for me as a Black artist and a member of the LGBT community, the LGBTQIA community, excuse me, to occupy that space. And I knew that if I didn't do it, then I would be giving that opportunity away to someone else who might not be a minority. And so it was important for me to occupy that space at that time. Eventually, I did get to a point where I said, you know what, I can't sing this song anymore. And so at the last ALS walk in Raleigh last year, I told them just a week before the walk, unfortunately, I said, I can't do it anymore because I just don't feel like this song, there's no truth in it for me anymore. I don't believe what I'm saying at this point. I've seen too many Black men, unarmed Black men being murdered on video, and I just don't believe it anymore. So I can't sing the song right now. And so, but back to your point, how are we seen? We've been laughed at a lot here in the UK, in my personal experience, because people just find it ridiculous that we allowed the 45th president to become the 45th president and to remain the 45th president for his entire term. And I can understand how they feel. I can't believe it myself. I campaigned for Hillary in 2016. I was there with her the night before the election in Raleigh. I was, 6 feet away from Lady Gaga and John Bon Jovi when they performed at the NC State there. And so yeah, I was heartbroken the next day. I cried in the back of an Uber the next morning. I was just tore up about it. And I gave up television and everything. I was like, I just don't want to see anything related to this anymore. And so I definitely feel like the respect for us is slowly sort of coming back with what has happened recently. And so, you know, I still think America is the greatest country in the world. We have a lot of flaws that we need to work out, but being here in London and also traveling to Italy and Spain and places like that has allowed me to see what our strengths are that other countries don't have. And we do have a lot more freedom than a lot of other countries have. So things we need to work on is universal health care and taking better care of our citizens, especially in times like this pandemic. You know, in the UK, they get 80% of their salaries given to them during this thing. And I got like a one-time $1,200 check when this started. And my rent living downtown Raleigh was more than that check. So it was just like a joke to me. So things like that we can do better.
Yeah.
But we also have a lot going on. And that's why they like to come to America so much, because they know we have a lot going on. So I'm still very proud to be an American. So
Me too. Me too. Me too. We've had, you know, two big historic events happen in the last month here. We
talking about
had
January 6th.
we had January 6th,
Yeah.
this mob riot of terrorists, and then
Yeah.
2 weeks later, the swearing in of the first Black woman, Asian American, as our vice president.
Amazing.
What were the headlines in the UK for those two events, those 2 days?
Yes. First of all, you've been in the headlines since I've been here. They talk more about us than they talk about themselves, which I don't understand. Because I'm like, y'all got a crazy prime minister and y'all have enough stuff to be talking about. Y'all got way more going on here to be worried about us in America. But they talk about Americans that, like, the world is obsessed with America. You have no idea. So when I turn on the BBC, I usually immediately start seeing things about, you know, what's going on in America. I thought I wouldn't be able to keep up with, you know, what was going on in my home country initially. But after I got here, I was like, okay, it's just like watching Good Morning America or the Today Show. Like they're obsessed with us. So yeah, they talk about us quite a bit, and they still look to us to sort of determine what direction they should kind of go in. You know, they're still looking to America as that, you know, the leader, despite, you know, the last administration. So I guess that's a good thing. Because like I said, we do a lot of things right as well. So, you know, one thing I do notice about it in America, people are complying with the mask and the distancing a little bit more than they are here. We're in a very bad way.
Have you been to downtown Raleigh lately? I'm feeling like you haven't.
Oh, are they not wearing masks down there?
No, it just, I know, you know, driving in certain areas on the weekend, the bars, it's like there is no social distance.
Are you serious?
Yes, people wear masks and social distance. I want to travel and I want to go back to the theater. So
Yeah, you got to wear your mask and you got to social distance. And you have to understand, sometimes you see other people on social media doing things, and if you don't know the context behind it, you think, oh, they're out and about. I can be out and about too. Like I will say for me, you see me taking pictures around London. I follow the government guidelines. So you go to work if you can't work from home. So I had to film, you know, I Am Mary. I filmed my music video. That's my work. My videos that go on my YouTube channel is monetized. So that's a way for me to make money during this lockdown as an artist. I can't perform anywhere to make money. So I have to go to utilizing social media to the best of my ability. I do those things. I go to the market. I go for my exercise. And usually during my exercise, that's when I take my little pictures and things like that. But other than that, I don't go anywhere. I'm stuck at home. So I go out once a day, get my exercise, get my food, and I come back home. So don't think that I'm not complying
Well,
with
no, you are, because
don't
you're.
follow me or people who look like me. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. So it's interesting. So are people not complying as much there? Is that what you're
No,
saying? You are,
they're
but
not.
other people. Mm, that.
So there was a wedding at a school. They used the school's auditorium, and the school said they didn't have any knowledge of it. I guess they rent this area out to for events, and the person who oversees those events allowed this wedding reception to take place. There were 400 people. This was 2 days ago. No one's wearing 400 people. And then the day after that, 200 people got busted for having a rave. That's become a huge thing here, is having raves. So yeah, they're not complying, and that's why the numbers are up. We're in a national lockdown, and it's going to continue until at least the summertime, probably. And so it's left me to make a decision on whether or not I want to stay here throughout that entire thing, because it's sort of, there's not a lot to do right now. And so I may leave and come back. I don't know yet. I'm still sort of trying to sort that out.
People in Raleigh miss you. You have a fan club on Facebook right now commenting that they miss you. So.
Oh my God. I can't see it. I can't wait to read it after.
Yes, you'll have to read it after, but
I
people are
miss those
missing you.
people too, trust me. Like Raleigh is my home. People here ask me where I'm from, and I say Raleigh. I feel bad sometimes because I always want to represent Detroit, because I'm so proud to be from um, Detroit, and all my memories there. My family's there, the majority of them. You know, Aretha comes from Detroit, the Motown, and Anita Baker and Madonna is from the suburbs of Detroit, and Eminem. So I want to hold on to that. But Raleigh is where I became a grown up, and where I became a solidified performing artist. And so it's just it's where I'm from. It's home to me. And when I think about, you know, will you go back to the United States until this COVID thing is over? Like, where would I go? I would go to Raleigh, because that's home. So I love that city, and I love the people there. I have such good relationships with so many small businesses, like the Rebus Works and
Mhm.
Quirkus, the jewelry maker downtown, and the Morning Times, and everybody. Like, that was my stomping ground. Like, I know all those people. They've been in my music videos, the Poorhouse, like all that stuff. So I have an affinity for Raleigh, North Carolina. It's a very special place with a lot of very special people.
Oh, um,
And the Raleigh
um,
Little Theater, oh my God. Don't get me
Sister
started.
Act. You mentioned Sister Act. You know, Whoopi's bringing Sister Act back to the UK. You should, you know, audition or something,
You
because
know I will. And I would want to be TJ again. I love being TJ, because he's
yeah.
nothing like me. He's like he was an airhead, so stupid, and he's a thug. And I loved playing that role. I love getting to be funny, because I feel like I'm so serious a lot. And so, but I have a great sense of humor, and I like to laugh. So it was a joy playing TJ, and getting to have Allison Lawrence be my mother superior, and Latoya and everybody, and Jawan, who were in that cast. It was such a great experience for me. And I'm glad that we had a long run. It got extended. So we did like 15 shows in all. And my family came down from Detroit and from Atlanta to see it. It was a great experience all around.
It was such an uplifting, delightful show. It just is like, it, it's a smile show. You know, you can't
Yeah,
help but just want to stand up, and the music has that gospel flair. It's just a wonderful show.
yeah.
It's a fun,
Nancy
fun
Rich
show.
directed that. She did a great job. She um, had a great attitude and a great outlook. And, it starts at the top and that just sort of trickles down to the cast and everyone else. It was just a very good group of people on that. And I'm just so proud that I was able to be a part of that.
Yes, it was such a fun show.
Yeah.
On RDU on Stage on this platform, we talk a lot about racism in the theater. We actually use talking about racism in the theater as a springboard to talk about racism in the world. Juan Isler has a group that he moderates every other week, Theater on Racist Negativity, and we spend a lot of time diving into this. So Boris Johnson, you mentioned him, he announced an inquiry into racial inequality after last summer, after the George Floyd murder. But he faced criticism for saying that the UK is not a racist country. And he used the word thuggery to describe protesters.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and according to one BBC report, one of the people involved in the Black Lives Matter movement there, she said there hasn't really been a lot of direct engagement between the government and a lot of the Black Lives Matter organizations in the UK. So what is the temperament in London, and what does equity, diversity, inclusion look like there versus a city like Raleigh?
Jesus, I'm heavily involved, more so in real life than on social media with equality. And I was at the protest in Raleigh for George Floyd and Jacob Blake.
I saw that NPR picture of you. I don't want to do a screen share of it, but there's a fantastic picture of you there.
It's heavy, right? It's like I almost didn't want to share it to my personal page because it's so like, but it's like you have to. It got to a point where you just have to take a position. And so what I notice here in England is culturally, it's a lot different than the United States. I think the racism exists here just as it does there. And I date outside my race. I date my race and I also date outside my race. I date whoever I'm attracted to and whoever I connect with. And so I was dating someone here for a while when I first got here. This is kind of personal. And I ended it because we had an intense conversation on racism one night. And I said, I believe all people are created equal. And they looked at me and said, no, they're not. And this is a white person who I'm dating. And listen, it was so profound for me. When they got to explaining why they felt that way, they have royalty here and kings and queens and things like that. They do not well, I won't say everyone. Some people don't believe that everyone is equal. They believe that some people are here and some people are here. And that's just the way it's always been. They're closer to that part of history than we are, the royals and the kings and the queens and the all that stuff. And so after it was explained to me, I was just like, wow, this is really ingrained in the thinking over here that, some people are beneath other people. It may not always be based on race. Sometimes it's based on, class and how much money you have and, what your last name is and your lineage, the family you come from. Either way it goes, I don't agree with it. And I knew that I could not be with that person. I was not able to convince them to think otherwise. And that's number one for me is like, I don't tolerate racism and I don't tolerate prejudice or inequality in any way. That's my number one. So yeah, I will say I've learned that it's the same here as America. As an artist, though, the appreciation for me is greater here in London than it is in America. just for the type of singing I do, the type of music that I do. I notice they gravitate towards me more here, and they
Mm.
appreciate my voice and my sound more in the UK, which is what brought me here to perform, than they do in America. America's very bubblegum, so they like that auto tune and that fake, and they want people who pretend like they have more money than they actually have, and filters and just a lot of fakeness in America is appreciated more than it is here. Here they don't go for that at all. They want you to be able to sing live. Um, they want to hear your pain and see your pain, and for you to be vulnerable and expose yourself, and it's accepted here more. In America, I felt like I had to pretend to be happy like 100% of the time, and just pretend to be like perfect there, because that's what is acceptable and marketable in America. That whole Taylor Swift, Justin Bieber type of thing, and over here it's more of that Amy Winehouse type of thing here, that raw, real, relatable, vibe.
And I feel like the artists that we've interviewed on RDU on Stage who are in um, London, they're focused on the art, whereas I almost feel like here, theater, and I'm not saying all theater, but I'm saying big commercial theater is almost focused on the celebrity. And
Very
that's
true.
the sense I get from
Yeah,
interviewing people there.
the focus has to be on the art, and it should always be on the art more than the person, I feel. It's very dangerous putting all the emphasis on an individual, because I mean, we've seen how that can go with celebrities. Once it gets too much for them and they sort of implode. So it should always be on the work, on the piece, and not on the person. And so for me, I always try to put the emphasis on, this is the song, this is the lyric. You know, it's about way more than me as a person. I'm just a vessel in this, and acting as a channel for all this to flow through. It could be anybody chosen to be in this position to do some of the cool things that I'm getting to do. So it's not really about me, it's about the work. And when I'm long gone, I want my work to still sort of be living and be relevant to people and resonate with people. So
I feel like the legacy you're leaving is kind of this trail of intentionality in what you do and how you spend your time, your activism, which I admire so much. Um, you are volunteering as the director of music at Oxfam.
yes, I love it.
So, can you talk to me about this very cool place? I want everyone to go online and shop here now because of
Yes.
the mission.
Yes, you can shop there online right now, even through the lockdown. And Oxfam is an amazing organization that does a lot of good for people around the world, for the less fortunate people around the world. So basically, what I do is I curate the music section. I go through sheet music by hand. People donate, sheet music and CDs and books and things like that, and I literally go through all of it and I decide what is salvageable and what can be sold and what can't be sold, and then I have to organize it in a way, and I just enjoy that. It's 100% volunteer. It's always important to me. This is the way I was raised by my family in Detroit. Wherever you go, you have to give back to that community. That is your duty. It's a duty. Like, you just can't go somewhere and just be there for free and, just, take advantage of all the luxuries without giving something back, putting something back into the pot. So that was like one of the first things I did. Literally, like my third day here, I got online and I figured out how I could be of service to the Oxfam. And so, yeah, I've been enjoying that. I get to meet new people and talk to the customers, and yeah, it's just been a great experience. So I look forward to being able to actually go back and physically work there, because I literally work the whole day. I work the cash register. I'm sorting donations. I'm pricing donations. It's not like a glamorous thing. It's just work, and I've been enjoying being able to do that. So I can't wait for this lockdown to be over so I can get back to it.
But the money from the sales, whether it's online or in person, goes to people in need. I mean, it's really a cool model for retail because it's not like a thrift store. The stuff is, I mean, not that thrift store stuff isn't cool, but there are some cool. There was this chess book that I saw on their website. I was like, if it wasn't 500 pounds, it would be really cool. I mean, there's some cool artifacts, some cool antiques.
Yeah. You don't want to pay 500 pounds, so that's like $750 in America. That's been an adjustment.
but some very cool things. I'm your person, and I will put a link to your YouTube page so people can go there and support your YouTube page and to Oxfam because it's really cool stuff.
Absolutely.
On your personal Facebook page, you wrote a really beautiful personal message, and I won't go too much into the personal message, but the final thing that you wrote was, this is a shout out to anyone out here actively working to transcend who you were yesterday. I love this sentiment so much. I think it resonates with so many people right now as we're navigating this crazy time. So, what has 2020 taught you about being an artist, being an activist, being a human?
Oh my God. So 2020 has taught me, first of all, to take off the veil. Not that I think that I intentionally ever put on a veil, but I always try to put my best foot forward and also kind of control how people see me, especially living in Raleigh, which is becoming a bigger city, but still everyone knows each other. Especially when you do stuff like what we do, when you put yourself out there, strangers would come up to me. It got to the point where strangers came up to me often living in the bubble of downtown Raleigh. And, you do stuff at the Raleigh Little Theater or that you're on the news or something like that. And so you always want to be smiling and putting your best foot forward. And 2020 has taught me that just to be yourself and who you are that day. And that's your superpower. That's your connection to people. That's what people will respond and relate to, is that authenticity. Because everybody experiences pain at some point in their life. When you share your pain, not everyone else may be currently experiencing pain, but at some point in their lives, they have experienced it. And so they will have a connection with you. They will have compassion and empathy for that pain, and it will bring you closer to them and them closer to you, just by being open and authentic. And so 2020, I've had a very storied life. I realize more storied than a lot of other people. I grew up in Detroit. We moved to Baltimore when I was 4, back to Detroit. We moved to LA. We moved to New York. We moved to Florida. We moved to Atlanta. We lived in the Bahamas when I was a kid. So and now I'm here in London. So it just, and a lot of things happened during all of that, that moving around and stuff. And so I think it's beneficial to me to share that, things that transpired during all of that time, and to open myself up to other people. And people feel so sort of trapped and encapsulated by their life experiences, as if no one else has experienced those hardships. And we carry shame and guilt, and isolate ourselves because of some of our life experiences that really many other people have gone through or are going through. And so there's no reason to be ashamed of it. There's no reason to isolate or feel alone. I think we just need to talk about it more and connect with people, find our tribe, you know, those that do understand and can relate, and also enlighten people uh, with our experiences. And so my whole thing is honesty. I always tell the truth. And so I'm going to continue doing that, sharing my experiences, sharing my truth with the intention of healing. Everything is from a place of love and positivity. I'm not ever sharing my past to condemn anyone or get back at anyone. I don't have anything but love for everybody, even the people who hurt me during my childhood and growing up. It's made me who I am, and it's made me the performer that I am. You know, I can sing anything because I've experienced all of those things, the pain, the love, the happiness, that it comes from that place. And so I just want to continue being a light in this world. That's what I tell myself every single day, is to be a light, because sometimes you get drawn to that darkness and you want to be negative and you want to be vindictive, and people say hurtful things to you and you want to get back at them and say something even more hurtful. And I've just learned to not even indulge, not even give that any of my energy. It's all about being a light. And that's what when I get up every morning, I get down on my knees and I pray and I meditate and I ask the universe, you know, the creator of the sun and the moon, I ask that person to allow me to be that inspiration to people. And I've been allowed to do that so far. And so I feel really blessed and fortunate. And, you know, people like you find me and ask me to do your show. You know, that's an inspiration to me. I could be anywhere in the world right now doing anything, but I'm here. You know, I come from the hood. You know, I'm from the hood in Detroit. So I could be anywhere right now. I could be one of those people, you know, you guys are reading about on the news, a victim of police brutality, but I'm in the most fabulous area of London right now doing my thing. And so that's a blessing to me. And it's a result of um, my prayers and my meditation. So
I am a big believer in prayer and visualization and authenticity. I think your authenticity comes through in your music. It's clear listening to you sing, and I feel like I just want to get on a plane and come over there and hear you sing, but I will settle for the music videos until you can take me on a tour of Shoreditch and I can get there safely.
Corona free.
Corona free. But
Yes.
this has been a pleasure getting to know you. I did see you in Sister Act, but we haven't ever really met until now. And now I feel like I have
No,
a friend across the pond. So
you
this is
do. And if
wonderful.
you ever do make it here, I will be your personal tour guide.
Well, I do love London. We brought our kids a few years ago, and it was a wonderful trip. And so I hope to get back. I hope to travel someday again. Um,
You will.
where can people find your music? On YouTube, on Facebook? I will share those social media links. What's next?
On Spotify. You can
On
find me on
Spotify.
Spotify. Yeah. Um, I just want to leave the last thing that I want to say is it's just very important for people to support artists in general. Um, as a Black artist, I think it's very important to support minorities because we're still at a disadvantage and considered not as marketable by some people. So it's very important to support independent artists. For me, this is what I do. And so it's not like it's a side gig or a hobby. For not just for me, for all artists. Please support someone and get behind someone and encourage them to keep on going because artists really do inspire everything that happens in the world. I can quote The Devil Wears Prada, if you've ever seen that film, when she makes the scene with the blue sweater cerulean blue, and how she tells Andy that, you know, that sweater that you fished out of some bargain bin has actually been selected for you by the people in this room. It's true. Everything that you're wearing, everything that you look at, it's all inspired by us, the artists, even things that you don't realize. So in order to keep the world pretty, it's very important that you support all of the people that make it that way. Because most folks don't have time to contribute to making everything aesthetically beautiful and sounding beautiful. They're busy hustling, and you know, the doctors and the lawyers and the teachers. But us artists, we take the time and invest in those things. And so it's just really important to keep that going. So even if it's not me, make sure you get behind some performing artist, some theater performer, some local musician, some visual artist, some painter, some local business who's, you know, a record shop or something like that. It's important.
And what I keep telling people on these live streams, it's funny. I started these live streams back in March because I thought we were only going to be in lockdown for 2 weeks, and I thought I'll do it for 2 weeks, and then we'll be back. And that was like 200 and something live streams ago. But I keep telling people, if you've read a book, if you have watched a live stream of a play, if you have downloaded music or a cast album or an EP, it's amazing to me how much people are leaning on the arts to get through this pandemic. And I don't want people to forget how important the arts have been in their lives at this moment. And you're right, we have to support local artists because they're the ones getting us through this. So
Exactly.
thank you.
Thank you for having me. This has been such a pleasure.
You're
I feel like
joy.
I went back to Raleigh just now. So I feel I love it.
Yeah, it's like we're having coffee at the Morning Times.
Yes. Do you go there?
Yes, I love that place too. But thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you tuned in late, you can watch this from its entirety on Facebook, or I'll post it on the website and YouTube tomorrow. And please support local artists, support Orlando's amazing music on Spotify and everywhere else, because it's amazing.